co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Gary Ware, and we're going to talk about Gary's new book. Gary, before we get into all of the discussion, where can people find you?
You can find me at my website, BreakthroughPlay.com.
So Gary, I've got it up on the screen here. You can't see it. You've written this book, maximize workplace success through the power of play. So Playful Rebellion, maximize workplace success through the power of play. I've read it. It's a great book in terms of
Yay!
you know this idea that and you bring this out and you actually use data in there to say this. I'm not just saying it's just not Gary's opinion, but here is data that actually shows that if we have a good time at work, we're actually more successful and more productive. Are you there, Gary? Hello, Gary. Can you not? Can you hear me, Gary? Gary, Gary, can you hear me? Hi, Andrew. I'm not sure if Gary can hear me. I've just asked him a question about his book, and he's not answering. So I don't know if he. Oh, I've lost Gary. And he's back again.
Take two.
Hello, Gary. How you doing?
Hi there. Hi, Tim.
Should we start again?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and with me today I've got Gary Ware, and we're going to talk about the future of work is play, which is about his new book. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But Gary, where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, BreakthroughPlay.com.
Fantastic. So Gary, you've got a new book out called Playful Rebellion: Maximize Workplace Success Through the Power of Play. And I've read
Yes.
it, and it's a great book. I can because I know you. As I read it, it's kind of I can hear you speak it, and I mean that really. I mean that great. But you also, you talk about data that actually shows that if we're using play, we're actually more productive.
Correct. And I wanted so many people to realize that this data is out there, so we can start to change, how we look at play instead of something that is frivolous that just kids do, to maximizing work and the potential.
Because you talk way back in the beginning about the history of work and the history of the factory system, and uh, and you say I'm getting the quote. Um, if for a particular reason you disappear, your employer will fill your role by the end of the month, whereas your family will miss you forever.
Yeah.
And it's
And
one of those things like, yes, of course.
yes, exactly. And that is the challenge.
Yeah.
That is what uh and I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, what are we working for? Why are we working so hard? No, don't get me wrong, I'm all for hard work, but if we are wasting our lives away to just essentially be replaced at a moment's notice when something goes wrong, like, something needs to be different. We need to be approaching this whole work thing differently.
You talk also in the book about the regrets of the dying,
Yes.
and there's like I think there's five. Is it five regrets of the dying?
Yep. Five regrets of the dying. And one of the big ones is there that, so these are people at the end of their life. And it's from an amazing book by a woman. Her name is Ware, and she was a hospice nurse. And one of the big regrets is that people wish that they did not work as much. And if you, again, thinking about this, because yes, we need to work to make a living. It's going to help us, leave that legacy. But these are people that are like on their deathbed, and they're looking back at their life, and they're thinking about all the things that they did and didn't do.
And didn't do,
And yeah, and because they work so much, they didn't have space for connection. And maybe even some of that work that they did, they were probably in a state of stress that they didn't really get to enjoy it as much as they probably could have.
And I think it's really powerful when you go back and you think, we've lived so many years in our lives, but there are so many things that we can do. But to be actually saying, I wish I'd actually not worked so much because I wanted to do so many other things. And you also talk about there's a couple of TED Talks that you recommend. One is about joy. So Ingrid
Vitelli, yes. Yeah, I believe that's, yep.
Yeah, where she's done a TED Talk called Where Joy Hides and How to Find It. And yes. I stopped reading your book and immediately went and watched the TED Talk. And it's just awesome the way that she talks about joy and how to find joy in certain things. Because we're not taught, or no one says to. So I'll give you an example. I run in the mornings, and I go down this street, and that some kids have basically chalked on the what you would call the sidewalk, what I'd call the pavement, and it's nothing. It's just they've got some chalk, and they're out there playing. And I walk past it every day, and I go, I think I should get something from this. Reading your book and watching her TED Talk, I now walk past it and go, I get joy from that.
Agreed. And for those of you who are watching this, live or the replay, the circles behind me was inspiration from her talk, where she talked about circles and confetti, as things that bring us joy, because there's no jagged lines. It doesn't cause that innate sort of feeling of danger in our unconscious brain. And that has been my thing of like, how can I inflict people with joy? Because again, we only have one life, and especially with all the stuff that's going on, I feel like we're constantly in a state of fear and despair and stress, and that is not helping us be healthy.
No. And I'm just going to pick on Andrew's comment there, which is, when you die with memories, not dreams.
I love that.
That is good, isn't it?
Woo! Oh my gosh. Yeah. So much there. Yes.
Anyway, back to, so there's this, you talk about joy, and if you go to her website, you can see that she's done a whole load of stuff about painting. So I've got some friends in Seattle, and what they've done is that they've painted the church internally, and they've done and I can just painting steps and looking at it now, you can see that what that does, it actually lifts us up and it lifts our spirits.
Yeah, agreed. And it gives us the ability to be the best version of ourselves, because that's what it's all about. Is that when you're in a stress state, and I talk about this in the book, is that our brains are a bit outdated, and the stress that we go through was intended to help us get through something. It wasn't meant to be a long, a lasting thing. However, to-do lists, emails, the thought of doom and gloom, in the future keeps us in this stress-like state, which impairs our ability to be creative. And it doesn't allow us to be agile, doesn't allow us to be innovative, it doesn't allow us to do our best work or be the best version of ourselves. And as that's one of the reasons why I call it the Playful Rebellion. We have to rebel against that old school thinking, that conditioning, so that we can bring out the best in ourselves and in others.
And you've given a number of examples about where play has been important. We're still working, but we're kind of having a good time. And you give examples. I know I've done it as well, where I've worked long hours, but we were having a laugh, and for some reason or other, it just didn't seem to be. It didn't seem to be like a long time that I was working.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the whole premise, is that imagine if we can go into a situation, like work, where we spend
You
a
sold a
good
book,
percent.
by the way. You sold a book already, Garrett, by the way, to Jane Williamson.
Yay! I will celebrate that. Hooray! Hooray! Uh, but I would say, like imagine going into work where we spend a large percentage of our time. I think it's about 33% of our waking time is spent at work, and a large portion of people dread that. They're stressed out. And imagine if we can change that environment, where we can get into that state of flow, so that we can get more done, as much time there, so that we can go off and do those things that bring us joy.
Also, I wrote down uh, you talk about DOSE or dose. I don't know if you pronounce it as
Yes.
dose,
Yep, it is a dose.
which is dopamine, oxytocin. I'm trying to read my writing here.
Serotonin.
Serotonin and endorphins.
Yes.
So talk us through
And
that.
yeah, those are our neurochemicals, our body's response to helping us be creative, helping us feel supportive, like we belong, be creative. And that is readily accessible to all of us. And the easiest way to activate that is through a play like spirit, through play. And again, most of the time we turn to things like caffeine, or other things outside of ourselves to help us get through the day. Don't get me wrong, sometimes we need a good cup of coffee. I am not saying that we don't need these things. I'm just saying, if we have an ulterior or alternate way of getting into the work, it will help us connect better, make us feel like we belong, so that, again, the whole intention is to be the best version of ourselves, so that we can connect with the people around us. And for all this time that we're spending here, make the most of it. Not every job is going to be sunshine and rainbows. Again, I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna here. I'm just saying, there is an easier way of getting into the work so that we can get the most done.
Yeah, I once ran a paper airplane competition, purely as a way of I work for a startup, and we it's like many of us has done, and all of a sudden one day I'm like employee number 12, and the next day there's like 70, 80 people there, and nobody, you go, who are you, and stuff like that. So I actually ran a paper airplane competition. I had to do it at lunchtime because otherwise they thought people would think it was it, which is a classic thing. It's not. It was actually work, because I was trying to do was actually get everybody to be creative, but also work together and actually say. So someone would stand up and throw a paper airplane, and it's like, so who's this? Oh, it's Joanna. Joanna, okay. Well, who are you, Joanna? And it's like, well, I'm Joanna. Da, 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 and what we did was that we actually got together, and it was like, and we just spent 30 minutes throwing these paper airplanes, just as a laugh, but it was also to try and get to know each other as well.
Yeah. And most of the time, we take that for granted. It's like a throwaway. When things get stressful, those are the first things to go. However, these are the things that need to be there consistently. Because when you're playing a game, this is the beauty about, play and just connection, is that your brain is setting aside all judgment and all those other things for the game. So we're playing,
Yep.
yeah, like in your situation. Oh, it's a paper airplane competition. Oh, wow. Your brain's like, well, this is fun. You're having what is called a peak emotional experience. And your brain is taking in everything. Who are you with? What is going on? And so many things are happening. And if we were to even dissect that, your brain is like, oh, wow. I'm having fun with these people. I probably should, I probably trust them. Again, your brain is number one job is to keep you alive. So if you're having a pleasurable experience with a certain group of people, you start to trust them more. Again, your body is releasing all of those neurochemicals. Think about like if you were at a sporting match and you're all rooting for whatever the team is, and they score. You're high-fiving people that you don't even know. You're having this amazing experience, and then when you leave, you felt like wow, I was just hanging out with a bunch of best friends. Like imagine if you bring that spirit to your work.
Yes.
Of how it's going to help you.
Yes, it turned into that, because all of a sudden you started knowing people's names without going up and formally shaking their hands.
Agreed.
And then you remember them as the person that, oh yeah, you put the fins at the end of the thing to try and get some lift on the and you kind of remembered the people by it. I just thought it was really, I just thought of it one day, and I just thought it was a great way. And you were right about the Jeff Harry just said about the peak emotion experiences. It was about that. I didn't ever have a phrase for it, but it was about that. Yes.
Yay. And shout out to my boy Jeff Harry. He is amazing. So many awesome people. So many amazing play people.
And Kathy's joined us as well, because she had to, really, because you joined the interview that I did with Kathy.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, I love all these people. Hey, Kathy. And we have Katie here. Oh my gosh, so many amazing people. Deborah's here.
Deborah.
From Newfoundland, I believe. Yeah.
There's Catherine.
And Kat. Oh my gosh. Hey-o.
So, I've written down here as well on my notes, curiosity and wonder.
Yes. Woo. Oh my gosh. So I like to say, let's be childlike, not childish. Play is a very child. How we take curiosity for granted. It is something that happens, and we like, it's just like, oh, we're in a space and we happen to be curious about it. However, if we're intentional, we can really use that to our advantage. And if you look at it as two knobs, we have anxiety and we have curiosity. And when the anxiety knob starts to go up, a lot of times we want to suppress that, and it's challenging. It's like, imagine you had a beach ball and you're in a pool and you're trying to hold that ball under the water. It's not going to happen. It's going to boop. It's going to pop back up. But imagine if you had another thing like curiosity, and you can just turn that knob up a little bit and start to be curious about your situation. That is going to, start to decrease the cortisol and adrenaline and start to increase all of those other positive neurochemicals. And, and wonder, like, how can we turn that up more often than not during our day? And, in the book, I have all kinds of activities of doing that. And one of the things that I talk about is, imagine if you can walk through your space and see it as if you were a child. Like, what would you notice? How would things be different than us just as we normally do as an adult? Oh, I'm busy.
Yes, I totally agree, and we see things so differently from as a child. And just to sort of finish up, rest. Why is resting?
All right,
which is the thing that I've always wanted, because I don't know about you. I've always wanted to work on a railway, but as a sleeper.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
sorry. I just thought I'm about play. I just thought I'd throw in a joke. And
why not? Oh my gosh! Anywho, so rest. This is something that us adults, we don't get enough of. I remember, people saying, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead, X, Y, and Z. Well, I like to say you need to come from a place of rest. There's a lot of research out there that shows that if you don't get enough rest, that you're going to be operating as if you were drunk. You're not going to be able to access all of the resources that are going to allow you to be creative, that's going to allow you to be productive. Now, I'm not one to advocate to say that you need 8 hours of sleep or whatever the case may be. You will figure that out. However, when you get enough rest, it rejuvenates your body. There's so much stuff that happens. And in doing the research for the book, I realized that there's not just one type of rest. There are actually 3 types of rest. There's the macro rest, which is all about getting sleep, just normal sleep. And you'll figure out what's enough for you. And then there's the micro rest. And these are the things that you should be putting into your calendar throughout the day so that you can get that boost of energy. Typically after a call or a meeting, what do? We jump into email, we jump into another task. And then by the end of the day, if we were to take EKG scans of our brain, it will be, like that. Here in the States, we had this commercial back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where they fried an egg and they were like, this is your brain on drugs. I like to say that is your brain on work, overwork, I should say. But if you take these micro breaks, things that are going to rejuvenate you, maybe it's, just taking time to just take some breaths or do something playful that brings you joy, take a walk, whatever the case may be, is going to allow you to jump into that next task and be more productive. And then these are the really fun ones that I'm working on doing. It's called mezzo. And this is where you actually step away from the work for a period of time. Ideally, this is where sabbaticals and whatnot come in, and not everyone has the ability to do that. But I'm just saying, maybe on Fridays, cut it early, or take 2 or 3 hours and do something that brings you joy. Whatever that is to you. Play is very customizable, and it's very personal. But by doing that, you're going to see some amazing connections back to the work that you wouldn't have saw otherwise. So I'm on the rest train. I'm all about it. So yes, let's get more rest.
Fantastic, Gary. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, I've read the book. I think it's a great book, and thanks for coming on today. And it's one of those books that I sat there and read it, and it was one of those, and I'm sitting there learning stuff, and it's one of those things where you get it's a bit like when the apple fell on Isaac Newton's head. We all kind of know what gravity is, but until someone actually gives it a name, we don't have a name for it. But there's a whole bunch of things in there where I went, yes, that's right. And it's just a great, and I recommend it to everybody. It's just a great book about how can we make the world a little bit more playful.
Yay!
And a couple of where are we? How can we? Here we go. Thank you for the permission to play. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, Kat.
And Kathy, yes, he's dropping truth bombs. Where can you find me on LinkedIn? Even though this is about, I'm Timothy Hughes, Hughes. So you will find me up there. Kathy's left me it's probably a link, I would think there. That's my name in Chinese. But this is about you, Gary. So Gary, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on my site, BreakthroughPlay.com. You can buy the book. You can find it on the site, or you can go to PlayfulRebellion.com. Woo! A book drops September 13th. And if you
I ordered from Amazon.co.uk, and it's September, the book, yeah.
Yep. And I have some bonuses. So if you order and then let me know you ordered, I'll hook you up with some really great stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, and thanks for all the comments and for people for tuning in. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you as well, Tim.